Welcome back to Living in the Word, and today we are looking at the story of Isaac, Hagar, and Ishmael. Let's begin. Genesis 21, verses 1 to 7. And Yahweh visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahweh did to Sarah as he had promised, and she conceived, and Sarah bore to Abraham a son in his old age, at the appointed time that God had told him. And Abraham called the name of his son who was born to him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised Isaac his son when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac his son was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made laughter for me. All who hear will laugh for me. And she said, who would announce to Abraham and Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne a son to Abraham in his old age. So here we learn that just as God has promised in Genesis 17 verses 16 to 21 and 18 verses 10 to 14, Sarah conceives and has a son to Abraham, and they name him Isaac. Now, let's not forget that it was 25 years ago, previous, that God first promised that he would make him a great nation. Sometimes we need to wait a while. Genesis 21 verses 8 to 13. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne Abraham, mocking. Then she said to Abraham, drive out this slave woman and her son, for the son of this slave woman will not be heir with my son, with Isaac. And the matter displeased Abraham very much on account of his son. Then God said to Abraham, do not be displeased on account of the boy and on account of the slave woman. Listen to everything that Sarah said to you, for through Isaac your offspring will be named. And I will also make the son of the slave woman into a nation, for he is your offspring. Now, obviously the relationship between Sarah and Hagar had not improved since Hagar returned in chapter 16. Maybe the bad relationship had filtered down into Ishmael as well, causing him to make fun of Isaac. Now, as a parent, it would be pretty hard to see someone making fun of your child. But this is not the only reason Sarah wants to send away both Hagar and Ishmael. You see, God had made it clear to Abraham in Genesis 17 verses 18 to 21 that Isaac would be the sole heir of Abraham, but also that Ishmael would be blessed and also become a great nation. So if anything, Sarah is reminding Abraham of that conversation with God, which is also why God then reaffirms what Sarah is saying in verses 12 and 13. Let's continue on. Genesis 21, verses 14 to 21. Then Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder. And he sent her away with the child, and she went, wandering about in the wilderness in Beersheba. And when the water was finished from the skin, she put the child under one of the bushes, and she went and she sat opposite him at a distance, a bowshot away. For she said, let me not see the child's death. So she sat away from him and lifted up her voice and wept. And God heard the cry of the boy. And the angel of God called to Hagar from the heavens and said to her, what is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid, for God has heard the cry of the boy from where he is. Get up, take up the boy and take him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave a drink to the boy. And God was with the boy. and he grew and lived in the wilderness, and he became an expert with a bow, and he lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him from the land of Egypt. So now we've just read that Abraham gives her bread and a skin of water. Not a lot, according to some. But he trusted God to provide for both Hagar and Ishmael, just as God had promised. God's promise to make Ishmael a great nation is repeated to Hagar, and he opens her eyes to a well of water. The main point here is that when God promises, he sticks to those promises. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next video, and God bless.